I was in the courtroom as Cassie was testifying, so let me tell you guys everything that you didn't see or may have not heard, because it's a lot. I will say the most damning part of her testimony for me is when she describes a freak off where Diddy and another man, an escort, are standing on top of her while she is laying on the floor high off ecstasy, and they are urinating on her face to the point where she is choking on their pee. And to further give context,
oh my God, what? Choking on? Listen, that sounds crazy. Now, we're gonna finish this clip and then I have another clip after that. We're definitely gonna have this conversation because the main talk was about how Cassie's husband feel about this situation. So that's gonna be the main topic of this video. But we are gonna finish this clip and then get to the second one so that we can really have this conversation, because a lot of times when we meet older women, we don't realize what they experienced in their 20s. So comment your thoughts under this video. Also, like the video, then subscribe to the channel because I am posting daily content. My name is Bertrand. I am the coolest dude on the planet and I'm your friend. Confidence and clarity is the goal. So here we go.
I was in the courtroom as Cassie was testifying, so let me tell you guys everything that you didn't see or may have not heard, because it's a lot. I will say the most damning part of her testimony for me is when she describes a freak off where Diddy and another man, an escort, are standing on top of her while she is laying on the floor high off ecstasy, and they are urinating on her face to the point where she is choking on their pee. And to further give context, on the right hand side of the court seated is her husband Alex Fine. On the left hand side, Diddy's 6 out of 7 kids are sitting in the courtroom as Cassie is describing having weekly freak offs for years that would last 2, 3, one lasted up to 4 days. She talked about damaging hotel rooms so bad.
Oh my gosh, like just listening to this sounds crazy. Like she was choking. Like you know what? Let's finish. Here we go.
In one instance that they had to pay such a hefty fee because the hotel told them that they needed to completely redecorate the room after a freak off. After a freak off, there would be blood, urine, and lots of baby oil. There was so much baby oil. There was also so much baby oil talk to the point where the judge at one point told prosecutors, wrap it up. But before we even got there, a very pregnant Cassie was called to the stand. She was wearing a tight brown turtleneck dress that was hugging her baby bump. When she sat down, you could tell she was nervous. And if you couldn't, you quickly picked up on it, because once she started talking, you noticed that she paused a lot. She would sigh heavily before she answered a question. One of those moments was when she explained to the court that a year into their relationship, that Diddy had approached her with this fantasy that he had. He called it where he wanted to see her have with another man, later referred to as freak-offs. She said her stomach dropped. She was 22 years old. She described herself as very naive and a people pleaser. She said the only reason that she agreed to it is because she knew it would make him happy, and she was afraid what would happen if she said no. That's also around the time, she says, that he started to get abusive. Most of her testimony today was spent on talking about these freak-offs, the different escorts that they would use, the different hotels that they would use. She said that she would find escorts off of Craigslist and this escort service called Cowboys for Angels. And to describe them, they weren't the most attractive men, right? They were very average looking. Some of them weren't even conventionally attractive. One thing they had in common is most of them were black, because Diddy preferred for her black men with a big D, she said. At one point, Cassie broke down in tears when the prosecutor asked her, why didn't you leave? If the freak-offs, as you explained, were so disgusting and humiliating, why not leave? And she... And she started crying and said that she was very deeply in love, and this was the only alone time that she could get with Diddy. And it got to a point where this was kind of the only emotional connection that she was getting from this man that she was dating. So much more that I'll cover in another video, including his incessant phone calls, him tracking her down with his security, and her never being able to escape him.
Now, before we move on to the next clip, I just have to say, there was a time where a lot of people were scared of Diddy, especially around this time. Like, I remember hearing the conspiracies about what was going on with Diddy. And let me say it this way. There was a time where if you were a man and you were gay, You're shamed for that. That is no more. But back then, it was a thing for real. So there were a lot of conspiracies, and allegedly Diddy blew up somebody's car, and more and more. So I can understand her being scared, because when you see somebody with that type of power, oh my gosh. But let's get into the second clip, because again, this is really about how her husband can feel. So let's check out this next clip. Here we go.
So I was in the courtroom where this trial is taking place, and I was sitting right behind Cassie Ventura's husband, and I watched him as he sort of glared at Sean Combs at times, at the family, especially during the period of time where the prosecution showed photos of 13 men, different races, predominantly black men. These are all men that Cassie was able to identify in terms of names sometimes, and where these freak-offs, these alleged freak-offs took place, from cities like LA, Miami, New York, Las Vegas, etc. I can only imagine how painful it must be to sit there and listen to that testimony regarding your wife and the number of people that she says she had sex with because of these freak-offs. Something else worth noting is that Ventura continues to say this was all about what Sean Combs wanted. So today she mentioned that she said she primarily reached out to the escorts, but says that was her job and Combs expected her to do so. We'll of course have more with the testimony that's still happening right now inside federal court.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Can you guys imagine how this husband is feeling? I mean, think about it. They're about to have their third child. He's about to have his first son with this woman. And from what I remember of Cassie, this woman is beautiful. I'm talking gorgeous. So to hear that your wife participated in something like this, and that this was actually her job, not singing, not dancing, not performing, but actually just being a participant at these freak-offs, oh my gosh. Now, here's the other thing that really went across my mind, right? One, did she actually tell him everything that happened? Right? Like, was he willing to sit through and listen to everything she had to say? Did she leave anything out? Did he hear anything in this courtroom that she is saying out of her mouth that she hasn't told him face to face? The only reason I'm asking is because that would make him feel even worse. Now, again, this is a woman that you're having children with. This is a woman that you have put in the wife category. Remember, wife, companion, fun girl, or gold digger. So once a man has decided to put that woman into the wife role, to hear something like this is devastating. It's even more devastating to hear that this was somebody else's fun girl or play toy, right? Like literally play toy. They said urine and blood and baby oil all over the place. The room was so damaged and disgusting that they had to remodel the rooms, and that this was something that was going on for over 10 years or 10 years. And this was happening weekly. Oh my God, right? First, you would think, or maybe I would just possibly think, okay, frustration, dishonesty, loyalty. Where does my loyalty lie? And then let me say, violent thoughts. If you're looking at someone who disrespected your wife like this, the only thing I could really think that this man might be thinking is violent thoughts, especially with his children being there, right? Like, so now there has to be a lot of different levels of protection, because we don't know how this man is going to react or respond to this. Granted, she did get that big settlement from him. So as far as their lifestyle is concerned, they should be taken care of, well taken care of. But that still doesn't make a man feel better knowing how disrespected his wife was. Like, this is crazy. And then to hear it the way that we just heard it in both of these clips, oh my gosh, like my heart goes out to her, because again, back in that time, back in 2006, where conspiracy theories was a thing, this goes all the way back to the days of MySpace, right? Meaning social media it was not a thing. And so the reason I bring that up is because you might not realize how hard it was to get into the industry. So the things that Cassie is saying, I can kind of understand some of them, because what people now are kind of making jokes out of, like you had to go sit on that couch, you had to do things behind the scenes. Well, what happens when those stories actually come out? What happens when those people actually come out and tell their stories? Some people, let me just inform you guys, based on the conspiracies and the things that allegedly happened, not everybody is alive to tell their story, especially about Diddy. Not everybody is alive to tell their story. And here's a fun fact from this is just something I heard. I don't know if this is true or not, but what I also heard is that this personal trainer used to work for Diddy, and this is how him and Cassie met in the first place. So, I mean, this is just heartbreaking all around, right? Now, the reason I always do these videos is because I'm trying to help men understand the world in which we have to navigate through. The world, or the reasons why we have to constantly reinvent ourselves. Because if you're a man, or let's take her husband again. If you're this husband, you now realize a couple things. This woman has been disrespected and defiled. I mean, just degraded. I mean, in the worst ways possible. We're talking choking, right? Like men used her mouth and her face as a toilet. Listen, that's hard. That's a hard concept to even think about, because you know this man is kissing her in the mouth. You know that this man is kissing her in the mouth. This man is going to have to reinvent himself. Why? Because he has children with her, and they have their first son on the way. So whatever violent thoughts he's having, he's gonna have to get over it, because he has 3 children he now has to take care of, or that he would want to be there for. I mean, again, this is a tough situation to be in, but man, I tell you, make sure you get yourselves together, because a lot of women, they're going to experience damage and trauma. In fact, you've experienced damage and trauma as well. Some of us have worse experiences than others. This may be one of those cases where I don't know if your trauma can match her trauma, but trauma nonetheless. So these are things we all have to deal with. This is what we're dealing with in this dating market out here in the streets. So with all that being said, I got a question for you. What do you think? Comment under this video. Remember, when you are watching these videos, you are becoming the best version of yourself. Now that this video is done, do me a huge favor. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.